All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, Obsidian Entertainment is going to be releasing their second game of the year. And this game is obviously The Outer Worlds 2. And The Outer Worlds 2 is having a little bit of drama, obviously, because it was initially supposed to be an $80 video game. It was going to lead the way for Xbox in their quest to be like Nintendo and charge you $80 for their video games. And they got felted so bad by the lack of pre orders that they had to run back to the corner and say, oh, we're sorry. We're only going to charge $70.
Guten Tag, Gamescom. Look at this.
And now, a trailer for the part of the game you'll remember more than the ending. The Companions.
Now, the funny thing about Obsidian is that obviously, when it comes to The Outer Worlds 2, we have seen from their trailers that is very much an anti-capitalist, or I should say anti-corporation kind of video game and company overall. You know, Obsidian has this kind of ideology that is pretty apparent that anybody could see from a mile away. But the hilarious thing about all this is apparently people were asking them, is the actual corporation Microsoft going to be influencing The Outer Worlds 2? And they've had to come out and tell their players, no, that's not going to happen. We are not going to let the corporation influence our game about anti-corporation, or whatever the hell they're talking. It gets confusing after a while. So Obsidian promises no dictates from its capitalist Microsoft overlords while making The Outer Worlds 2. But yes, the developers appreciate the irony. It'd be ridiculous to say that we don't notice that. Now, I do think it's funny that it's the biggest corporations that will virtue signal and say corporations are bad. It's the biggest companies that will virtue signal and say capitalism is bad, right? All of these activists are screaming anti-capitalism, anti-corporation, and they work for some of the biggest corporations in the world. Microsoft is literally the richest company in the world, and they're trying to pretend to be activists and claim to be, anti-corporate, anti-all this shit. I think it's really genuinely hilarious. Anyway, so The Outer Worlds, Obsidian's more anti-corporate than anti-capitalist RPG, is set for a sequel. To hear our own Ted Litchfield tell it, that sequel might even be quite good. But there's an irony here, isn't there? The Outer Worlds 1 was conceived of in a whole other era before Obsidian was snapped up by Microsoft, though it did eventually release after the studio was bought. The Outer Worlds 2, in all its anti-the man glory, is presented by Microsoft from root to stem, which is a bit incongruous. You don't get much more megacorp than Microsoft, with its multi-trillion-dollar market cap, brutal layoffs, and clamping down on protests on its own campus. But Obsidian is, at the very least, self-aware about it and said it'll be ridiculous to say that we don't notice that. Game director Brandon Adler tells Games Radar, we obviously do. We think it's funny, and we kind of play into it. Obsidian apparently promises that its corporate overlord isn't interfering with its message. Oh, boy. Here we go again. So when Avowed came out, the art director had to open up his big mouth and talk about the message, right? Whatever the fuck that was, like the message of the game, which and how he couldn't wait to get Elon Musk angry over what the default characters were, right? Because the whole pronoun thing happened. People found out about it from the character selection screen, and he just couldn't wait. He couldn't wait to piss people off. Well, apparently now with the Outer Worlds 2, they're trying to confirm with you, don't worry, the corporation Microsoft is not going to interfere with the message that this game is going to have. The people we work with really love the game, so so no dictates or anything like that, noted Leonard Boyarsky, the game's creative director and OG Fallout dev, by the by. You even see it sometimes in our trailers and things like that, says Adler. We poke fun at that. We get a little wink and nod. We realize that whole situation, but we still have a message that we're trying to tell. Regardless of who's funding it, we're still trying to tell that same message. Why are you trying to tell an anti-corporation message when you are a corporation? Does anybody have an answer for me? Like, why are you trying to tell an anti-corporation message when you are, in fact, a massive corporation? And then people are going to be like, well, I have no choice where I live. I live in a capitalistic society, so I have to do this. No, you can move. You can move pretty easily. You can move fairly easily, to be honest with you. Go get up and go. Take your money and go. Go live somewhere that is very much everything you want it to be. But the truth is that they don't want that, right? They don't want that. They want to be able to talk about how things could be better while living in a situation where things they know are better. It's a comfort feature that they're able to have in a society like this that allows them to speak about this stuff without having any backlash or anybody telling them it's illegal. That's really what it is. They don't even realize how good they have it, or they realize they do have it good and they're trying to maintain it while looking like they actually care, which we all know they don't, right? They don't actually care about any of this. So anyway, frankly, I believe every word of it for two reasons. The first, naturally, is the Situationist International's concept of recuperation, the means by which Borges society takes hold of anti-Borges art and twists, contours, commodifies it into something marketable. Criticism of capitalism becomes, by perverse mechanisms, a means by which to uphold it. You might remember this being gestured at in Disco Elysium, the line from Joyce Messier that capital has the ability to subsume all critiques into itself. Anyway, reason two, I'm not sure the Outer Worlds, or at least the Outer Worlds 1, ever really had much of a message in the first place. Its hyper-corporate setting was a mime for comedy rather than critique. You could combine both, sure, but there wasn't a huge amount of it. And I agree. Obviously, every game is going to have some story that is trying to tell, but I don't feel like the first game was so overtly in your face about being anti-corporation or anti-capitalist. I don't feel like that was happening at all. So the fact that they're trying to say that the Outer Worlds 2 will absolutely have a message this time around, and they're going to make sure you hear it, I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit worrisome. Then he says, honestly, that's fine. Of course it's fine for the gaming journalists. They love shit like this. I actually thought that the game was perfectly solid, but it had the misfortune of launching at a time when the old contradictions of society were sharpening. And a lot of people were looking for something more seriously critical to sink their teeth into. They didn't get it with Outer Worlds 1. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I think it's pretty safe to say that if you are excited for Outer Worlds 2, I would probably just be a little bit hesitant. You can play the games you want to play. It's perfectly fine. I'll never tell you what to play and what not to play. And at this point, I'm obviously still going to review this game. People are going to want me to. But I really am a little bit, I don't want to say sad, but I should say that I kind of all saw this coming, right? If you watch the trailer for Outer Worlds 2, it was pretty damn obvious what they were going to do with this game, right? Even for the lady who's on the screen, the big head lady on the screen, talking about capitalist society and all this nonsense, you can kind of tell where this was going to go and how anti-corporation and anti-capitalist the game actually was going to be. So I really don't think this is very shocking. It's just hearing the confirmation is unfortunate for the people who might be looking forward to this game, or maybe they don't care. Maybe their ideology tells them that this is what it is, and they're excited for it regardless because they want to stick it to the man. They want to stick it to capitalism by buying a $69.99 game in a capitalist society. Take that, capitalism. Maybe that's what they want to do. But in any case, you guys can let me know in the comments down below. What do you think about this situation overall? What do you think about Outer Worlds 2? Are you looking forward to it? Do you not care? Whatever it may be, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, consider hitting that like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
More chaos and an actual release date now that GTA 6 got pushed to the spring.